optimistic actually, but they think that over the next year to 2 years, rates are going to come down. They think Trump's going to save the world, or they think Biden's going to save the world. Doesn't matter, but either one, they believe their team's going to win, and that's going to fix everything. So otherwise, they wouldn't be buying a house. They wouldn't even be talking to you. So you can assume that part. But what you don't want to assume is that they know what the heck they're doing, right? So big picture game is, if rates do, like most of them think, over the next year to 2 years drop, the 2-1 buy down's way better for them than looking at trying to drop the price $20,000-$30,000, which is not $20-$30 a month versus $400 or $500 a month that they can save on a 2-1 buy down, depending on the size. What you're generally offering to a seller when you come in with a 2-1 buy down is the price of the house is $500,000. You're going to walk away with about 2% less than that. So you're going to walk away with, and it comes out to a little more than 2% on the 2-1 buy down right now.
Okay.
Seller has to pay it. So whether it's a builder, whether it's a seller, I just think they get more traction with that, because then there's banks like ours that will refinance it with no cost.
Right.
When rates do drop. So you think about, again, this is a 3-part move chess game, right? First, you get into the house, because if you wait until rates drop to the 5s, like the timid will, you guys are going to be offering $50,000 more on that house just to buy it. So, so if you buy now, you do this, but I would say you just make sure you kind of like that. That's about what it costs, though. And then
about 2%.
About 2%.
Okay.
It kind of, you will hear people that will advertise a 3-2-1 buy down. It is impossible to. You cannot legally make those work. But I still see builders doing it, because the builders, when they advertise it,
right.
I haven't seen agents do it, but when builders do it, they'll advertise it, because they don't have they can't get in trouble like I can as a lender to put something out there that I know I can't do.
Right.
And because the cost goes over 3% of the value of the home, it just blows it up. So 2-1 buy down is about as aggressive as you can get, but it makes up like on a $500,000 house.
I mean, this is going to be, we're listing at $675.
Yeah. So you're talking about a savings over those 2 years of about this. So imagine this is what you're really doing. We take the amount of interest difference. So if the rate was 7% and now they're 5% the first year and then 6% the 7 year. So not to run too far ahead, 2-1 buy downs, everybody know what that looks like. So if they qualified at 7%, then the first year they're at 5, second year they're at 6. Let's say that the total interest that was being saved off that deal it would be about $20-something thousand, a little over 2%. All that the seller is doing is paying the bank the difference in the interest for 2 years. That's really what a 2-1 buy down is.
Okay.
That's what sets the limit, is you got to keep it pretty close to about 2% of the total loan amount. The reason that makes sense, though, is if rates really do drop, then after that 2-year period, sometime in that time, they're going to be able to refinance with us. At least we're not going to charge them any fees, so they could refinance for $1,500 and then take advantage of lower rates for the long term.
Right.
So it's kind of like short-term, long-term strategy. In the long term, investing in real estate is great, but the way you finance it, there's a couple steps that to be strategic, that you can kind of sell. But I think that goes a lot further. And by the way, on that deal, again, that's about $500-$600 a month they save in the first year and about $300 the second year. It's a big savings. If you got them to negotiate down $30,000, it would only be about $100-something a month.
Right. Okay. I just didn't know what the dollar amount was or what that looked like right now, just so I can kind of go in and prep her and say, look, I know you want to price at this higher point.
Yeah.
Let's offer an incentive potentially for buyers. And so just be able to get for that for less than $15,000, you could sell at a higher price.
Yes, that's exactly right. I mean, and I mean, honestly, just, as agents, obviously keeping the price the same means that your commission on both sides of the deal stays the same. So, so it seems like it's a good thing for all parties involved. It's like their general idea is that they feel, now, if they're just super conservative, I have had people call me, and at times they're like, well, the seller's offering to pay 2%. Well, I had one buddy on a VA deal where they were saving 1.25 points off the rate. So they took that deal. Instead, it cost the seller the same.
Right.
But instead of getting that 7%, just as an example, they got a 5.75.
Yeah.
So I'll take that all day. And then they're set for life. And on a VA deal, if you guys don't know this, when you're a vet and you go to refinance, there's a small fee that's got, because you got settlement fees, but it's a really small fee. And they don't have to even qualify. I mean, like they all they have to do is fill out an application, or not even fill out an application. They call me up and they say, I want to refinance. I get their name in there. I don't pull their credit or anything. As long as I can verify they paid their mortgage for 6 months, that's it. They get a
Yeah,
refinance
VA
in the
refinance
lower
is
rates.
the same.
It's the best refinance deal out there. So for vets, I'll also tell you vets are super entitled and can be big a-holes. I'm a vet. I can take that crap from
The
them.
crazy one I told you about,
Yeah.
I had me as a buyer.
I use that as an example
Good.
because
Tanner's dealing with it now. Not me.
yes, they can be a little entitled, but anyways, I think selling the long-term strategy and looking at that, I think as an investment, like I said, they could, if they start talking about rates, they could wait. But when rates drop into the high fives, that's the magic trigger number that everybody's betting on mentally. When we get into the fives, there's going to be a rush. You guys are going to be happy as hell, but your clients are not going to be happy, because when it hits in the high fives, we could be 6 months from that maybe before we hit there. But when it hits that, then down here, because of the job market, there is a number that correlates to there's this many people who moved here, there's this many jobs created, there should be this many houses. It's not a magical math situation. It is a known number, and we are under by millions of houses. You guys are going to be flooded. Your clients are going to be paying $50,000 overpriced, probably beyond what that house will appraise for again. I mean, how many of y'all dealt with that? I mean, it was not crap. It was kind of great. I had to go through, 12 and a half minutes, and your lender needed to send a pre-qualification letter, so nothing can go wrong with this. Guaranteed money, checks in the mail. Otherwise, we're not doing business. But there, that's what's going to be for you guys. But for your clients, this is the time for them to be buying, because this is as good as it's going to get, even though it still is somewhat inflated. It's still a tough market, and rates suck, and qualifying's harder, and all that stuff.
I just did a post on this last week.
It's not. It's like the only thing that's going to make it worse for your client is when they're paying $50,000 more for the house, or I don't know, on a $500,000 house. I definitely had some. You had a deal, I remember, it wasn't even a year ago. And I think you said you offered $30,000 over the list price on it. And that was within the last year.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Garland House, I think it was 80.
I don't know, you didn't send it to me. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
And I was like, you're
I know.
still sending, you're still
He had a
operating
personal
over.
banking concierge.
Yeah.
Like he's got these loaded,
Yeah.
and so he did not want to stray away from
No,
his
no,
chase.
I get it.
See, and one of my friends who's an agent, she moved, and so she helped these people buy last June, and they went $30,000 over and thought they were going to be here for a few more years. She got a job, she has to move back to Ohio,
Mhm.
and now I'm stuck trying to recoup.
Yeah.
This,
It was
this
30.
money.
It
Yeah.
was 30 over. The appraisal came back 80 grand over.
Oh, God.
80 grand in
So
Garland.
still
Well,
a
that's
good,
good, at
good
least.
deal then, I
Yeah,
guess.
'cause
Oh,
normally,
yeah. And the listing agent I knew actually worked with, and he was pissed. I'm like, don't be pissed at me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, let's tell you.
Yeah.
There was no comps because it was a fat house in Garland.
Right.
And it was, like 7,000 square feet. And like the only comp that was even close to that, it was like one of those massive homes that had an elevator and everything. There was really no way to.
It's a unique property.
Yeah, it was weird. And in Garland, like they're doing a lot of flippies.
Yeah.
And anyway, but yeah, they wanted that situation, but we still paid over 30 grand.
You're still going over.
Yeah.
We had to waive, like it was that I can't believe I even like told him, advised him to do this, but we had to waive auction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we waived he got an inspection eventually, but we waived it all.
Yeah.
You
I was
know,
just,
and
I
like,
think people were thinking, I would say just in general, what I've been trying to do personally, and I think just like you're talking about, is I've kind of flipping the script sort of thing. I know that I don't even know how old that term is. It's probably like 20 years old. So I'm like the word triggered. I don't even know if people say that.
Yeah.
But like I feel like that is a critical skill right now. And I think looking at every time there's some kind of bad news, every time you hear about the Fed hiking rates, that is a great opportunity for you to reach out and remind people that all the national news, no matter what the news is, on unemployment rates, on whatever else, make sure that you keep selling the message that real estate is local, that decision is local, and in fact, flipping the script, the worse that it gets elsewhere that you hear about the national news, or the closer we get to recession, what do you think happens in a recession with rates? The first thing, they go down.
yeah.
That is the first and one of the only cards that the federal government has to play to try to. So if we hit recession in the next year, what do you think the Fed is going to do? And what is Biden going to do? Is he going to be able to win? It doesn't matter if he won the win or not. It doesn't even matter. It's just a matter of He's going to pull out every stop. If gas goes above $4 a
Yeah,
gallon,
it's already almost there.
it is very close. But if it goes above it, he will never win. He doesn't have a chance. If it goes,
Figure it out.
if rates don't go below 5, if we hit recession, he's going to be in trouble. So how do they stir on keep a recessionary pressure? So for your clients who are looking and thinking, well, do I want to wait? Well, the first thing as soon as recession happens, when we have a booming job market, yeah, it sucks to be in Nevada, it sucks to be in Florida, but in Texas, we've got a backstreet. So rates drop into the 4s. What's going to happen? The price on houses goes through the roof. The demand goes through the roof. We're back to a crazier market that we've dealt with before. And guess what else happens? Then more people start moving here. So like the worse it gets elsewhere, every time you hear that bad national news, use it to your advantage and be that person that is like reminding them that you're making a decision locally.
I feel like we're already in a recession.
Yeah.
So I know when the market crashed,
Mhm.
then people were not buying.
Right.
And then the administration started offering so much, depending on the price point, you will get a credit.
Right.
Are we gonna see that again?
It's possible. I think that those credits, a lot of the credits that they had, I don't know if I don't ever remember seeing reports if those things really worked. But I know that dropping rates and building up the housing again will be their way back out of this. It's really a silly game. The reports I keep hearing are just from what the Fed wants to do, what economists think. Again, that's why Wall Street, why rates are so crappy right now. It's because you've got a federal government, the Fed, who said we're going to get inflation down to 2%. So they're just going to keep repressing the market until we hit that number instead of letting it glide down like they said they were going to. So what they end up doing, the first play is always cut rates because that has a tendency to trigger the economy. If housing's wrong, gas prices and cars aren't selling, the economy ain't working, and you do not win, period. Nobody wins the presidency again. So that's really all it comes down to. We can trust our politicians for one thing, and one thing is to do whatever it takes to win at all costs. Right? And that is the only card. Yeah, I was going to say, in one place,
I'll let you finish your sentence.
to win at all costs, right? Doesn't matter who the president is. No one's going to go into this. So, like I said, it's like everything that people hear. Oh, we're going into recession. Well, that's good news because that means you buy now while nobody wants to buy, and everybody. If they're hearing recession, then that means you got a better chance of us negotiating a better price on the house. And then when rates drop, you can do this with our bank at least. I mean, I'm sure that we're not the only ones doing it. I think Rocket Mortgage. I mean, not that you should go to them.
No.
The wheel. But it's like, yeah, I am not advising that.
We do not say that word. It's the same thing as Zillow. We don't say those words.
But every time you hear those news and those rumors, your clients that you talk to are hearing the same things. They're just not telling you those things.
Well, and I was gonna say, because I don't know if y'all read the Keeping Current Matters.
Okay.
That I love that. So I actually just recorded a video about this,
Mhm.
about recession doesn't mean housing,
Right.
crash and all this stuff. And so it's that article, you can make a post about that. You can grab a bunch of that information, which is what I did. And I think that's gonna be super beneficial for people
Yeah.
to hear. That doesn't mean, yes, we're in a recession. That doesn't mean that the market's gonna crash like it did in 2008.
No.
And we have so many different variables and.
Yeah, like what does that even mean? Like they think recession means Great Depression. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it is not the same. All
Yeah.
it means is we had 3 months where the economy didn't grow. That's it. And with the economy, even if it just trucked along where it's at and just kind of fluctuated, it's not doing bad. We're actually doing great. Unemployment is insanely low. So that those trigger words will cause, reactions to people in terms of the decisions they make. They may not think of you guys in terms of like financial big picture. They're thinking, well, I'll call Kristen if she needs help with that, if I want a house. But instead of looking at that news, say, what does that really mean here? Okay, we head into a recession. So we buy the house today at a better price than we're going to get when rates drop. Or we kind of like, if everybody else is hearing this, there's probably a lot of fear in it. There's probably agents on the other side of the deal that are looking at like, well, we're getting 30,000 off the deal. I mean, let's sell the damn house. So fine, like take advantage of it. And that's the time to get your buyers out. If they can qualify today, if we're heading towards recession, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's not going to affect Texas. In 2008 and 9, I've said this before, you guys that have been on calls with me, but in 2008 and 9, housing in DFW went up by 4 to 5%. We didn't have nearly the jobs and the creation and the economy, the momentum here that we have now going into 2008 and 9. We did not have that. Fort Worth is the second fastest growing city in the country right now. it is not, we are not going to Florida, again, California, all those places, they suffer in those type of times. But the worse it gets there, the more people are going to come here. So just be in I would just encourage you to be in the habit of turning that news and reminding people of what that means for us locally. And if you're not sure, if you see something, more than happy to help on how we're doing, because that is actively what we're doing all the time. And I do believe it. I'm not just selling it like, hey, here's a trick you can play with customers. I do believe these principles are true, because I just, I got into retail loan officer work around 2007 or 8, and it seemed like, oh, it's the worst time to get in, worst time to get in. No, it was great, because all the dinosaurs got out of the business, they're in the way. And then I was like, there was plenty of pathway, like they weren't ready for what was coming and all the online everything, I was, So it's an opportunity. So just think of those things as opportunities to turn that and to be that voice. I don't think most people think of their realtors in terms of like asking you, but what I find, and what I was going to say on the other side of all this, is when you get into these, when you have FHA buyers, in my experience, and you guys, may have your own opinions on this, but typically they're the only thankful buyers I work with. They're so thankful that you got them a house, right?
Oh, yeah.
They are so happy. They're like, oh my God, we got a house. This is a miracle. They cannot believe this has happened. It's that second and third buyer, right? And they are not as, at that point, especially if they're moving up and everything, right? Now they're playing middle class games of, they are selling to the world, right? That they're a baller. Okay. They can afford anything. They drive an $80,000 car. You don't know that it's leased for $1,200 a month, but I see that, right? I see the $30,000 millionaire that you don't see. And so and it's really hard with builders, because they view $1 million house as a big deal. I still do. I don't want $1 million house myself, and I make more than a lot of customers I'm qualifying for $1 million house. I'm like, that's crazy, but so,
But I'll take the commission. Yeah, exactly.
it's like we say spend life wisely at our bank, but as long as I qualify you, that's wise enough.
Different definition.
Yeah, right. I qualify you, doesn't mean you should, but you didn't ask me that.
Right.
Exactly.
You're not asking the right questions.
You're just writing paper. You're just
Yeah, exactly. I'm hitting buttons on a computer right
You're
here.
hanging paper.
But I think what I would say is the clients that you probably overestimate their knowledge of the business, of the economy, or their ability to get qualified, or their willingness to take your advice on where they should go or what they should do. You're probably, like most people, are overestimating their ability to make those decisions and undervaluing your knowledge of what you've seen. And you're thinking, what you don't find out is, when that person calls me, they're trying to buy a $700,000 house is there a 3% down option with that? It's like, how do you have $12,000 in the bank and you're looking at a set? I mean, like, you're making $250,000 a year and you've got $12,000 in the bank liquid right now. You can't pay 1 month of bills. And I see that all the time. They may have money in return. I'm not even judging it. I am no financial whiz. I am no, what's the guy's name that tells everybody to get out of all? Dave Ramsey. I'm no Dave Ramsey, okay? And in fact, most of the time when I see his deals, I love the guy. So go ahead.
Well, I was gonna ask you, Dave Ramsey, so, everything, if you don't have the cash for it, then don't buy it.
Mhm.
But that also hurts like the buyers now.
Yeah.
Because they have like no credit anymore for
Right.
the last 5 to 7 years.
Yes.
He would say credit is a sign of how poor you are.
Yeah,
How
debt-
much money you
Good.
owe someone
Debt
else.
is a good thing.
So
Like leverage.
For me, yeah. Yeah, I get paid like that.
Leverage.
that have no credit anymore.
Yes.
That just have a higher
Yep.
down payment, right?
What I end up doing, there are easy ways to fix it, but I always advise them. I try to fish that out. I mean, if they're a religious, middle class, wealthy person, they probably have heard the Dave Ramsey talk, but they don't realize that they're about to pay me 1% more for the rate than if they just go out and get a stupid prepaid card, sit on it for 30 days, buy some gas, and then I get them scores above 700, get them better rates. So, fish it out, and because when they call me, their credit is going to max out in the mid 600s. If they're not using it actively, like if they took Ramsey's advice and froze their credit card in a glass of water in the back of their freezer and haven't used it, then it's not reporting history for 6 months. A third of your credit score is based on available credit and your usage. If you're not using it, you're not getting any credit for it.
Yeah. And my husband, because he's in mortgage, he tells, like, we have credit cards that we don't use except for like every now and again, but he won't cancel them either because of the credit line.
Yeah.
Because my parents are like, just
History.
cancel them, and he's like, no.
Yeah, the history.
Yeah, it's like if I never I look at it like if the company really goes tanks. I mean, hate to say it, but I'm maxing out my
Yeah,
cards.
tell
I'm
your
maxing out,
his
and I will be in Mexico.
We literally just had that conversation. He's like, I want the credit line for one because
Yes.
we never know well we need it, but also, yeah, he's like, can I charge those things up?
So I always tell people, I was like, look, I try to find out, like, because I see their credit. I'm like, this person has a lot of money, saves really well, but they're getting when I lay out this rate, they're going to be pissed and they're not going to understand it. Then I'm going to have to talk to them and have the talk, and they're going to yell at me about how stupid the credit system is. I'm going to apologize.
They keep
Yeah.
renting. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I was like, like FICO never called me after what I thought about this,
Yeah.
but nobody called Dave Ramsey either.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so being prepared for that I would say that's what I see. I see two very different views, and that is people that have a tendency to, like I said, that are conservative, religious. They follow Ramsey to the T, and I think it's money wise, all smart. Credit wise, if you never have to borrow money again, great. You're, gold. But if you're going to have to borrow money ever in your life to buy a car, God forbid, then it's going to suck. But don't overestimate those clients as far as their down payment, who they know, because they're like, a lot of people that are really wealthy, like in this town, they bank with Chase, they bank with Wells Fargo. Steer them away from that, because you guys know this. The selling agent, when they see that pre-qual letter, doesn't matter if it's private banking, the selling agent's like, chase my ass. Like, who else do we have here? They just don't want to deal with them. Everybody's gotten burned by this. I used to work for Wells Fargo. So funny. I was like, my first year there, I had deals from 22 different agents. I only had one ever send me a second deal. So I was like, I quit. I was like, are you kidding? Like, I'm finding agents that I tricked into working with this. And now, and I was working private wealth and everything like that. So it really does not help the mortgage that much.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but not often. So, just don't overestimate those guys. Talk to, that doesn't mean you have to get them, talk to them about, but like drop hints like, hey, you can still get loans even up to $800,000 with pretty close to 5% down. They won't ask you that because they're trying to portray themselves in a particular way that would work against their appearance on Instagram, right?
Mhm.
So just know that and don't overestimate them. And again, try to use every bit of bad news that you guys hear to your advantage, because most of that bad news is coming from the national scene. It is all, it is rainbows and unicorns here in Texas by comparison to anywhere else. And then even in Texas, even more here, So that was the main gist I wanted to see, because I'm seeing, like, I was hoping to sit in here, honestly, when you booked this, thinking like, okay, the Fed met. Here's a great example. Rates have come back down because the Fed is finally exiting deals. But rates are, I got a warning this morning, like the bonds and treasuries are going terrible. So that's going to drive rates up. They're going to inch up still. And so we're now approaching, into even with people with great credit, 20% down, 7.25 in that range. VA might still be a little below that. FHA will be still in the high sixes. But rates are bad, and it's going to take another cycle of a couple months for the Fed to meet until they say, okay, we're taking our finger off the scale. It's going to cause Wall Street. And so probably the next time the Fed's going to meet, use it to your event. When you start hearing that, your clients are hearing that. Rates are going to start moving in now a negative way, because they're going to be worried, are they going to do it again? Like, they're not going to trust it, that Wall Street is, I'm saying. So just use all that news. And like I said, I'll try to feed you as much ways to turn that stuff, share it, because, I just think most, the realtors are like realtors, and people like me are not necessarily viewed by our own friends and family as reliable. They see us if they want to buy a house. Otherwise, they think we're just bothering them to sell a house or buy a house, right? Or whatever. And it's like, no, this goes beyond all that, and hit up your investors, especially anybody that's interested in investment property. If they're frustrated now with property, the prices, sell them on buying a future investment property. Again, best time to negotiate. Rates will drop. Then they move out of that, move in the house they want. But guess what? Rents won't drop. So if you got somebody renting right now for $3,000 a month because your mortgage on investment property is $2,800 a month. Well, when rates dropped and you're now at $2,400 a month, you just think you're not going to drop the rent for that client. It'd be nice if we lived in a world where those kind of things happen, but they don't. So it's like that rent will be $3,000 and that person now is making $600-700 a month instead of $200 or $300 a month. So hit up your investors.
The one thing, if y'all are gonna make that video or post or whatever, use that information, one thing that I said is also like, majority of what I'm seeing right now, maybe everybody's different, but is the price reductions and days on market. So the buyers actually have a little bit more leverage in getting it for less than what it's actually listed at. Because of that, yes, you're getting a higher rate, but you're getting lower price and value versus maybe in the spring when you're going to be, yes, you can get a lower rate, but you're also paying way too much for a house. So it's like this, it's like, okay, where we're at in that graph.
Yeah,
So,
but you can just, keep reminding, you can always change the rate when the market's favorable.
Yeah,
But the house is not going to be cheaper in a year or 2 years. Of course it's not. And they know that. But I think I feel honest. I feel, that it's honestly, I feel like we're in the last stretch of what we've been in. I really do. And so I mean, just look, and it's not just because of what I'm seeing. I mean, I see it locally, but I feel like even the national narrative will change. But I think, to keep selling that because I think that is the going wisdom. That's not just my opinion. I think that's the going wisdom. So I think you're giving them honest advice on what the market is telling smarter people than me.
Yeah.
So by continuing to hammer that home, that gives you have a solution for that. If we agree on that, this is what you did. This is how to think about this and to think about what's going to be there.
Like we've been talking about in the last couple of trainings, this is the time when it's the doldrums. When you got not much going on, now it's time to be talking to these people.
Mhm.
Call your whole sphere, call everybody in your database and say, hey, what's going on? Have you seen what's going on with rates? Have you seen what's going on with the market? If you're thinking about buying, now's the time, because what's coming, the wave that's coming probably in the spring, I'm guessing mid-March. I'm guessing spring break is when the floodgates open.
Yeah.
Because that is 24, that's 6 months before the election.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are they're lining up for spring to be stupid.
Yeah. And your Trumpers, man, they think Trump is the second coming of Christ. So they are 100% sure that they seem to think that Trump is just going to hit a button and then rates are going to drop. I mean, they really believe it. It's like neither one of these presidents has anything to do with the Fed. Doesn't matter. That's not what we're dealing with here, right? We're not dealing with logic. It's all
The president does everything by themselves.
Yeah.
It's like buttons
That's
for
right.
help.
But I mean, there've been presidents in the past that after the election, you see things on TV and they're mad at the president because they thought they were getting a new car
Yes.
as part of the election. I'm getting money. I'm getting a car.
Yes.
And where's my car?
Yeah.
So-
Did you take government in high school?
I'm sorry.
I know.
No, they didn't.
I love like the gas price thing. It's hilarious.
I'm like, people
Yeah.
think it's there. I'm like, do you not know about it's more than America? Like it's the world.
Yeah.
I had this
It's not
conversation.
just our country.
I had
Yeah.
this conversation with my family last night. My son comes in, he's 18, has 4 vehicles. He's like, I can't believe how high gas is. It's all Biden's fault. I said,
Yeah.
son, Joe Biden has nothing to do with gas prices.
He's out there.
pumping
Yeah.
oil.
I'm sorry.
He's calling every gas station, and now the price is
Raise
this.
them.
Thank
But
you.
he's also been there and he's seen the sticker that said, I did
Yes.
this. And seen the me, So I had to explain to him, this has to do with what the Saudi Arabians are doing with controlling how much oil is going to flow to us.
Yep.
I said, we have enough oil to last us probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Already in stores.
Yeah.
But we're not going to touch that because that's the strategic reserve.
Right.
Or like my dad would be like, well, during COVID, gas was cheap. I'm like, because nobody was going anywhere.
Right. It's simple
Oh my God.
microeconomics. In high school or college, you took micro and macroeconomics.
Yeah.
It's supply and demand. That's where we are. Same thing for houses, guys. It's the exact same thing.
Yes.
When there's a big supply, prices go down. When there's no supply, house prices go up. It's super simple.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see if you don't deal with it all the time.
Yeah. And we can follow that discussion. The only thing I wanted to again plant is last time I was here, I talked about probably the biggest underserved program that we have that just I'm surprised is not utilized. So to give you this some scale of how much construction we do, you imagine Chase, Wells Fargo. I don't even know how many loan officers they have, or Bank of America, or any of those banks. when you look at construction financing, we only have 100 loan officers between here and Oklahoma, and we do more construction loans than any one of those big banks. We do a ton of it. But we don't do, or what we don't see, is that home style loan program that we discussed. And I sent Brian a bullet point of things I think are underutilized, and
We
there's
put it in
things.
Slack, so everybody
Yeah.
got a copy of it. It's in the guides channel.
And if you don't understand that, please hit me up, because I'm not always great at communicating, writing what I want to say and what I mean. So if it doesn't make sense to you or isn't apparent, it's my fault. Just call me up and I'll be glad to talk. But I do think one of the main things is buying homes and renovating, because the cost of construction is still high. I mean, even way out west in Parker County, and like where the land is cheap, I'm still over $200 a foot out there, like to build a house. They can buy a home and remodel it now for cheaper than they can do some of those things. The process probably seems like a lot of moving parts, but what I would say to you is, one, just like anything else, plant seeds with your clients, like, hey, just so you know, we go through this process. This is a tough market because we're still doing good in Texas, right? You tell them that. But you also preface it with, if you start thinking, I want to look at custom homes, and especially if they're already looking at $500,000 or $600,000 houses, they could easily just drive out to Parker and try to screw you out of a deal. My builders, God love them, if they think they can get a hold of you and talk pricing before you get involved in that deal, all of them are going to try to save money for that client, because then they're going to just charge more later in upgrades. It'll be the same price, but you'll be out of the deal.
Yeah, the buyer cuts you out of the deal to save 15,000, and then she gets charged 20 somewhere else.
So be proactive. Be proactive with your clients. They may not come to you asking about that, but then once they look around and then they're watching HGTV, they get a bug about, we should just buy a house and flip it like this show. And it costs on this renovation and flip thing, they see that the cost of flip and everything is $35,000. Like, that show was filmed in 2008.
Yeah.
Okay, that is not today's price, but still, if you don't mention it, they don't know that that's something you can handle. So plant your seeds in your own way. Like, hey, we have access to lenders and a construction department and design department. I don't have any other realtors that have that. You guys have people you can bring out to check that house out and show them it and do it all at once. But it just
How much are y'all, how, is it a full point, y'all's renovation loans right now?
No, it's about an eighth to a quarter higher than regular conventional rates.
Okay.
And they pay only a percentage point on the amount of the renovation, not on the whole house.
Oh, okay.
So if it's
So
100,000
just-
renovation, then it's $1,000 fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad
It's
at
a
all.
conventional program. We can still close. The time factor is how quick can you get design team or a contractor. Maybe they got somebody they like. I would prefer, if you guys are doing that and not buying houses, if it's not a house they're sitting in, obviously, because they wouldn't have you involved. Your problem is time sometimes. But I had somebody the other day that came to me with a deal. In fact, and was it Edna that I said that had the foundation issue, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you do a 2-1 buy down on that program as well? Or no?
You can. The seller could still do that. So the seller can do that. So it is a regular conventional
Okay.
program.
Cool.
But it can be foundation problems. It can be deals that are cash only or TLC houses. I love TLC houses. Don't go chasing waterfalls houses. But yeah, those houses are prime because the only people that are coming are cash buyers, right? Well, a cash buyer, if he's flipping it, what's he looking at? House is 200,000. It's going to cost me 100,000 fixed. I'm at 300,000. I can only sell it for 320. I'm not interested. Your buyer is not looking at it that way. But the only people that can buy a house, there is no program that they can buy a house with foundation problems or roof problems, caved in, or that was in a fire and whatever, you can absolutely buy that house as is and then add in a renovation. So you don't have to be an expert in all the details of how to do it. You just have to know how to connect them with me or somebody can do it, because there's not a lot of banks that do that program. But I'm surprised. I would be surprised if by kind of finding ways to market that with your brand alone, just because there's nobody else in Fairmont, if you look up, that has as many houses that y'all have, that this company has flipped or resold out there and renovated. You know what I mean? There's literally no other builder. As far as builders are concerned, from a renovation perspective, you guys are number one in Fairmont and the South Side and Ryan Place. I don't know how far that stretches, but out here all the way into Monticello, I see stuff, from y'all. There's nobody else doing as many historic homes as you guys are like that. So you guys have already a brand you can build off of, but your own way of doing it, who you want to capture and how you want to capture it is maybe different, but just mention it. Mention those things, and that you do doctor loans. You have access to that. Just make sure you're mentioning it. I can't tell you how many people I was talking to him for an hour and then found out he was a doctor. I was like, oh, everything I just told you, forget all that. You can do 5% down, no MI, and the rate's 5.5. You know, on $1.5 million house. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realize you were a doctor. You know, all I got was a text that your name is Evan and I'm supposed to call you about a house over here. You know, nobody bothered to tell me you're a
As far
surgeon.
as the doctor, how far does that go out? Would that be like what a physician's assistant count is that?
No, it's
It's
gotta
purely-
be a DO or an MD.
Brian, I think we should talk to Tanner about doing a video about this program and then our construction design. Because I think, like he was saying, you need to capture that,
Mhm.
our
Yes.
niche, and then also like, hey, not only can we help you with this, if you're buying a house that needs some, renovation or restoration or whatever, but we also have a lender that can, I think.
I agree. I'd share that like.
I would
once
totally,
a week.
because that would open up a lot of buyers for us, okay, we already have solutions to the problem on both ends, the renovation
Yeah.
and also the loan.
What I would be doing is I would go out to houses you guys are working on right now. And this is a house your company's doing. You don't have to tag them on. All they know is they're seeing that this is the house being renovated over in the west side. Doesn't matter if it's your listing or not. They're not going to go that far. They got 3 seconds worth of attention to give you, right?
I'm just
But now they
thinking,
know you do that.
I'm just thinking even just putting the loan side of it, because you're giving them a solution to that.
Yeah.
Too.
The wording is the key, the script.
Yeah. So let me tell you how that particular program works. Anything conventional size, you're talking house and let's say it's house and renovation. As long as you're staying under a budget or around 750, around that range, they can still do 5% down and finance all the construction into that deal. So house is 650, needs $100,000 worth of work. You're at 750,000. They put 5% down on the $750,000. They lock in a rate at an eighth to a quarter higher than normal rates. Do you know how much
Yeah.
the loan would be if they got a home improvement loan for $100,000? It'd be like a 12% rate on a 10-year term. This would be rolled in and then they close. They have 6 months to build. I already have approved guys that can work with it. 6 Avenues, one of them. But if they want to get a couple bids, I got people that can bid it out right there. But if it's around here, there's not many places that know how to bid out a stud tear down
Right.
house.
Would your payment, like time frame wise for that to be completed, would it be less or would it be the same throughout like the next month?
Be the same on that program. That's not normal on all construction loans, but on that particular program.
Yeah.
So we call that a home style loan or a home style renovation loan. Okay, again, it is a Fannie Mae conventional program. To be clear too, to the seller, it is not that bastard program, the FHA too. Don't ever get tied up with that. This is because a lot of agents, when they hear you start describing this, believe me, the signal goes like, wait, someone told me about this. What is that? Oh, that's 2 or 3K. That is not this. This deal gets handled by us. Draws get paid out fast. Very easy program. Your team would have no problem working on the construction side. But tying yourself to that deal, because a lot of people when they're looking, it's like unless they're willing to go really far out and then add an hour-long commute to their drive to their normal life, it gets when the economy starts booming, those houses in the city and everything like that, gas prices if they're over 4, people start looking in the cities again. You can do those, make sure. But you've done this before. One of the first videos I saw of yours, you were in a house and I was like, that's so cool. I thought it was your listing. And I'm in the business. I should know better, but you were just going to tour a house and I was like looking like, man, this house is really cool. Like watching your video through the house. It doesn't matter. All I think, what I'm thinking is that's real estate you're involved with somehow. That's all, and you're involved in the kind of houses I like because I like historic homes. That's what I took away from it. And I'm in the business.
The one I posted yesterday,
No, this is the one I very first found your page.
the new flip in Ryan Place, it's like 1.1. It is,
Yeah.
to be honest, it's not really done that well.
We didn't do it, right?
No,
Okay,
it
good.
does, well, I hope not.
What's the address?
It's on, somebody from Funky Town Realty
Oh.
has it listed, I don't know. But like, it's cool, like, it's beautiful, but it's just like the paint, like the features and like the way it's done is not there. Like the light switches are a little janky and stuff and like painted over and
Good. Let me ask you on the appraisal on those. So is it just subject to that? And
Yep.
then y'all are assuming that, y'all already know that it's
Yeah.
gonna be taken care of because it's already
Yes.
under contract to be renovated,
Yeah,
built,
that's right.
whatever.
We set the money aside at closing. All the money gets pulled together.
Yeah.
The seller gets paid. Everybody in the transaction gets paid. They're out of the deal. So this is the deal where you don't want them to fix the HVAC system. You want it put into the bid so
Yeah.
you can do it, not get done half-assed
Yeah.
by whoever they're going to hire for the cheapest they can
Yeah.
find, right? So it's a great way to find a fixer-upper in these little TLC house, for sure. But what I was going to say is it does have to appraise, okay? For in that scenario, 750,000. So if it came in at 725, 5% down is still a much more affordable way than them buying the house and trying to find some second mortgage later. That is really tricky, especially right now. That's one of the first things banks pull back when the economy turned crappy. Is some of those home improvement loans Frost used to do them. We used to do them 95%. A lot of that's pulled back. So this way is still as aggressive, I think, as you can get in the most affordable way. But if it does not appraise for the total needed and all of a sudden the out of pocket gets beyond a certain point, then it may just be a deal where I'm
Yeah.
turning it down because appraisal. They don't have the money. So
Yeah.
it's a turn down. So it's on the financial, it's still turned down for financing options,
Yeah.
right? They're out inspections or, and that builder is a little bit mad because he wouldn't bid out a job and they always have a 10% contingency. There's ways to protect them. I'll talk them through some details on it, but the appraisal will matter.
Yeah.
We'll get it quick. We can get it within 10 days, but we'll talk about that in the option period and the finance addendum, those timeframes based on that appraisal coming back because of it.
And what's this program called again?
It's called Fannie Mae Home Style
Home
or
style.
home style renovation.
It's a home style
Yes,
renovation.
home style.
Okay.
specific.
One of my friends has a listing out it's like almost by Lake Worth. And it's probably a little bit overpriced, but it's 2,800 square feet. It's on an acre. It's got a pool and it's beautiful. Like it's a great piece of property.
Mhm.
The house needs to be renovated.
Yeah.
And I have a client that was like, oh, I just don't think I could swing the renovations for that cost. But it's like, if you have something
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
How
Well,
could you not?
that's what I would say is that I've tried to get agents to use this program, but I think in the past, the transactions were turning so fast, they didn't want to mess with it. But now to have a flyer that says, here's an example of what you can do with this house. You get pre-qualified with this lender, you're going to get, and this is how it works. And you already have it bid out. You get somebody to do the bid on the basic work, a basic structure. This house, it's going to need new flooring for this neighborhood. It needs new appliances. And it has a foundation thing here. You already have it bid out. They don't have to imagine anything. People like easy buttons, right? So that's how I market that.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna text him. I was gonna go look at the house anyways, just because I had a buyer that was potentially interested in it. But again, he was like, I just don't think I can swing it.
Yeah.
But I may go out there and do a little video or something.
And it's any update renovation, like when you're saying
Anything.
appliances, like,
Yep.
Yeah.
It can be, I've used it for everything from adding a pool or a workshop to a brand new house from a builder. In fact, that neighborhood we're in Calhoun Acres, I'm closing one right now that they're just buying an existing house, is move-in ready from LBK, and then they're putting aside money for a workshop. And it appraised for about 30,000 under what it's going to cost them. So they are putting in a workshop, after.
that?
Yeah, they can
that's
use
what I'm saying, like, I would like.
That's
between
amazing.
anything,
I love that.
yeah,
Or-
so it's
or
been
pools.
such a- Pools,
Yeah.
okay.
It's the same, all the way down to foundation. I mean, there's a certain point where the time frame to build it, like
Yeah,
if it's a
like 6
tear down
months,
to the
right?
studs, if it's a tear down to the studs, I'd be nervous.
Yeah,
Then I just use a one-time close. I mean, it's a one-time close of our one-time close is 5% down. So it's the same program. It's just, there's more fees involved when you go to a traditional construction loan because it's a longer draw and inspection period.
I want you to, I'm
Now,
sorry.
is this just,
Sorry.
a silly question, y'all may have already gone over this because I slipped in, but I mean, is this just for primary residence? Or if you were gonna buy like an investment property, is there a product you can build into that?
You can use the home style program for investors also. You're still putting 20% down on the whole
Right.
price. You still have the appraisal issue, but you're
Right.
putting 20 to 25% down, but you can use a home style renovation loan to buy an investment property. So they were going to put 20% down, but they use it to finance in the work. Because what's the alternative? Hard money?
Right.
Yeah.
Really
which is
expensive and
Really
crappy.
expensive.
Right.
3 months, they need to pay back or
A hard
their
one.
interest rate.
Yes. They start taking on 2 to 3 point fees after 3 months. So if they're borrowing $200,000, they're dropping $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 after 3 months just in fees. Plus the interest rate of double digits a lot of
On
times.
the contract, If it's not a 203K, then what is
And
it?
it is.
Well, it shows as a whole, you know, I have to look and see that. I don't know if there's an addendum required. What I have had, people do is try to extend the option period. There may be a better way to do this. Okay. So, but because the concern is, what if it doesn't appraise, right? That would be that's typically the primary, if it comes way under, which is always a problem, you know, especially on renovations, and all of a sudden they're like, well, I'm not even able to finance any of the renovation is at that price.
Right.
When you deal with people with pools and stuff, those not, you know, they're not going to get 100,000 in value off a pool. So what I've had people do is we rush the appraisal, get everything in, get the contract, rush the appraisal. We get it back before the option period's out, because otherwise it looks like a regular conventional purchase on the contract. The deals I've done, I am not 100% sure that is
Oh,
exactly.
this is just conventional.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is conventional. This is not FHA.
Okay.
So that's why you can go, that's
You did
why.
say that, yeah.
So you don't put in the FHA blank on third
No.
party, it's not an FHA
No.
loan.
The thing that I guess, and maybe I'm just not thinking of it right. Like, so say like my North Richland Hills listing,
Mhm.
if I could market this
Yeah.
loan product somehow for the pool, because that's what we're lacking. That's our feedback, right?
Mhm.
But it won't appraise without the pool already there.
But if you know what that number is, you can work off of that, what that house is with a pool. And then we just put in the bid for
Well,
that.
and see, but then we get to that issue that we had the conversation about, what's a pool worth?
Right.
So if a pool's gonna cost you $100,000 to put in, it's only worth 30 to
Yeah.
an appraiser.
Yeah.
Where's that extra $70,000 margin?
No, that is the issue with pools and with workshops. Now in Parker County, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, workshops. So we do better on those. But I mean, like out there, I tell people you're gonna get 60 cents on the dollar on the appraisal. So it's gonna still cost you out of pocket, but still less than if you were just going out and doing it cash, obviously. But you also are maintaining an equity position, which is good. Instead of going in, all of a sudden now you're borrowing, you can't borrow over 100% of the value. And all those programs, most of the options don't look at the future value of the property necessarily.
But the home style does.
Yes.
So that's where I guess what I was getting at is like, even though right now it doesn't have a pool, so it definitely wouldn't appraise for what it would if it had a pool.
But you're at 723?
Well, not yet.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic when I talk.
No,
Um,
725 is what I told them.
okay, so it's at 732. So could that house appraise for 760?
I think it could.
So,
Yeah,
so
definitely the comps are there.
They've
Yeah.
been there. the
That's what I'm
whole
saying.
time.
I mean, when I looked at it, it was at I told you 750 is where my, well, but the problem is you've got buyers that are looking at 7% interest rate and they're not seeing,
$6,000 payment, yeah.
and they're not seeing anything else. They can't.
Yeah.
That's because that's a jumbo product too, right?
Yeah.
Seven-
well, if you get above 726 on the loan itself, then you go into jumbo territory. Or
So
above
you're
724.
barely jumbo. Before we get done and we're gotta kind of
Yeah.
wind down here, I want you to do your commercial for tomorrow afternoon's happy hour.
Oh, yeah, because I won't be
Oh,
there, so
okay,
I do
okay,
live
okay.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so one of the things I was going to mention in this is because I swear you and I talked about this also when we were talking about this deal, but so I've got a program. Calhoun Acres is out in Parker County. It's in Azle, and they've got probably about 200 lots. The developer is Crown Development. His name's Chad Bouchard. You guys, again, through Brian, have the contacts, the flyer on the event itself, which is going to be next Thursday. You don't necessarily have to be there, but it's going to kick off so that's Thursday. That following Tuesday, the event will kick off where it's a social media competition. You have 2 weeks to run as much social media as you can to get likes and engagements and views. That is so 2 lots by this developer are going to be given to the agents who have the most likes and the most views. You can run 100 ads, you can run 1 ad. Doesn't matter really to us how you do it. There's not really a lot of rules. You can hashtag Calhoun Acres. I do, what we're trying to do is drive business there. If this works, because most of the clients that are buying out in Parker County are coming from here, from the people who I work with out in Fort Worth. They're not coming from Parker County. Really, my Fort Worth agents that I work with are going to be really kind of pitted against a handful of agents that are working out in Parker County with this guy. But this guy is going to assign 2 lots to you, up to 2 lots. You'll get the contracts on the 29th or whatever the last day of the month is, or last Thursday of the month. I think it's the 29th. That will say, this is your listing now. What I'm also going to do is introduce you to builders, which again, Brian has the list of the 5 builders that are already building there, that are tied in, that are already approved with us, that are already ready to go. Because ideally, when you go to sell that lot, you can tie in a builder to it. And these builders will pay your commission. Kudo has a different way of doing things. If you've ever worked with Kudo Homes, they have a maximum they're going to pay you.
About that.
But I will tell you right now, in that neighborhood, as soon as they sign the construction contract, they pay you right in. I mean, you don't even have to wait for closing. It's because they've got a whole team. They want you to be like, just bring us the deal. We've got a team. They have a different deal. All the other builders, you get your 3% off the whole build job. But again, some agents don't want to mess with all that, don't want to get tied in or possibly drug into their design and their, depending on who the client is, if they're a real handful, Kudo would be a great person to drop them in Kudo's lap and they'll be able to handle it. But you'll get to, if you're there on the 10th, you'll get to meet some of these builders, including the Kudo team. A couple of the other builders are in that neighborhood. I still believe, and here's the best part, is that everybody that participates in this event will get first right of refusal to participate in a deal in Santana Ridge. Santana Ridge is the same developer, and those lots are 200 to 400,000 a piece. So the lots themselves are still a decent enough commission worth messing with. But we're gonna replicate the same event in that next neighborhood probably within 60 days.
Is it one specific post or is it,
You can post every day.
It's all added up through all your posts?
Yes. This is how it'll look. It'll we'll take all the agents involved. You'll tell us how many views you got, and you'll tell us how many engagements you got.
I
And
can go
then,
for multiple posts.
yes, and then we'll just take your word for it. No, I'm just kidding. Then we'll go and verify. Then we'll verify. We'll go to verify. So if someone's like, I got 10,000 views, and we're going to go through and look at those posts and figure out, and verify that that's really what you got, and that you beat out this next person. Verify those totals. We'll work from the top down, but I still believe that activity, tying yourself to those properties and to construction, would benefit you guys greatly. I believe in the end of it, you're not going to feel used up like a developer just got free advertising.
I think it's a great opportunity.
And are you still doing your happy hour this
Yes.
afternoon at 4:00?
I am.
At the Bearded Lady.
Bearded Lady, yeah.
It's on our calendar. It's option. I think I put it as optional on it. You may get that invite. But this afternoon,
Tomorrow.
No, tomorrow's tanks and drinks.
No, I know, that's
Thanks
why,
for
I-
drinks.
that's what I told him, I couldn't go, because I thought it was tomorrow.
it's on your 6 calendar.
Okay, I'm having it wrong on my.
This is
calendar.
how we end up at happy hour.
But let me tell you too, the builders are on that list. Let me also encourage you. One way, you can start creating videos for it now. That's the heads up I want to give you. You can create videos now. Let's say that you really want to go after Kudo Homes because they're in an area that you like. Go to any of their, I don't care what house you walk through. Let them see a Kudo Homes, and then you do not tag your builders ever in your posts. Or how to reach the selling agent on a deal. See, that's why I thought that listing was yours. I don't know. And I'm in the business. I didn't know if that was your listing.
Yeah.
Was that a house you were showing a client who was putting an offer? I have no idea. Don't tag your builder or anything, or even the actual neighborhood where it's at. Don't make it easy for them to find that house and bypass you, right?
Yeah.
So, but go out, and if you want to be of value to a builder, understand the basics of what the programs offer so that they're not losing. If you're bringing them a customer that they already know how the qualifying works, you've already taken them through that process, just like you would anybody else you take house shopping. They already know the value. This neighborhood is $220 a foot. So if you can't afford that, or you're not interested in $220 a foot, we're in the wrong neighborhood. These builders are getting just like scrap metal. They're just kind of walking in and has no idea what they're walking into, how to get qualified, how much stuff costs, and then they sit down and they're pre-qualified for $400,000 and they need a $650,000 house, right? So go out, the builders on that list. They all know the agents that you guys, the teams that I'm working with. There's only 5 teams all together, and I say teams. Some of them are just like 2 people from Northern Crane that are working. It's not that y'all's represents probably the biggest contingent that's participating in this, but all you're doing is listing the lots. I just think dirt is boring. You can show some things about the neighborhood, but go to a builder's house. Those sell themselves when they're finished. Contact these builders, find out what they've got that is their coolest house, and go video it and introduce yourself to that builder and let them know that you know it. And that way, if you have a customer that says, I love this house, where the hell is that? Oh, I can put you in touch. That's not in this neighborhood, but I can arrange a meeting. Then you're contacting that builder. Hey, someone's interested in this house. Their name is so-and-so. We're going to meet you on this day. You're not going to get screwed out of the deal. But if they find it on their own because of your post, then,
That's on you. That's on you.
So, does that make sense? So this competition that's in that deal, you can contact these builders now. You can start making videos, get them prepped. You're gonna launch them on Tuesday, I think it's the 15th. Is it
The 16th is Tuesday, is the 15th.
the 15th?
Yeah.
The competition will launch on the 15th. It will end, I believe it's the 29th, which is a two weeks later, basically. We will announce the winner and contracts will be signed on that Thursday. So it's like competition's 2 weeks, 2 contracts signed that Thursday. And then we're gonna do the same thing at Santana Ridge, but it'll be just twice as much money. Ideally, you're introducing the builders and you're making that, instead of making the $3,000 on a lot, you're making $20,000 plus on the sale because you locked them into a build job. Because I can close the lot and the construction all at the same time. The developer's hands-on involved in this deal. They'll give you the time necessary. If you're working with a builder and need a little more time to put that deal together, we can make it happen.
What builders are in that one?
It's
One?
Byron G, NK Homes,
Yep.
LBK, Kudo, and Weston Builders.
Is it that CHB guy that's in there or no?
Which one?
The CBH or CHB?
Oh, no, he's not.
Okay,
I-
I'm obsessed with that.
I'll just say they got some weird stuff going on. I love the houses. They got some weird stuff going
Oh,
on.
God.
I would dodge them for a while.
Okay,
But call me if you have somebody who wants their house, absolutely, I'll help you.
yeah.
But yeah, just make sure.
Every is good. I haven't
Okay,
actually
great.
worked with them, but is it Michael?
In part.
He just, as a builder,
Yeah.
is great. He invited us to come out like a year or two ago, and
Yeah.
so I'm excited to.
Yeah, he's solid. He's, him and, yeah, they're solid guys. And he's one of the few, and Kudo. Those two builders I started working with in 2008, 9 when all the builders got tanked. So you imagine like the reputation.
I'm excited
the
to ask
financial
Kudo some
strength.
questions.
Yeah, so the lady that's there, I'll just give you the insight. Her name is Trina. She just came back after some family stuff that she had going. It's pretty horrible stuff with her. with
I'll be
family.
nice.
But no, you'll know if she likes you if she starts cussing, because she cusses like a sailor. So, she is the foulest mouthed person I've sat down with since I was in the Army, which I love, because I'm like, clearly she's very comfortable with me because I don't say that word very often.
Her name's Trina.
Trina.
Okay, that's not. who I
She's
worked
listed on that list of builders. On that builder list, I have the builders, their contacts listed on those deals. Okay.
And if somebody, so the people that I sent this to 5 days ago were, Angela, Greg, Danielle, and Megan. If somebody else wants it, you just need to send me an email and I will forward it to you.
with. And happy hours tonight, right?
Yep.
That'd be great.
Okay, so
Yeah, so if you want to ask questions, I just wanted to talk to you
Taking out before that.
Okay,
before you get tanked. On protein shakes.
Yeah.
Cool. Any questions? I mean, tonight I thought if you want to ask about construction, of course, and get into the nitty, I just want to tell you some things about like kind of some preemptive things I would drop if I had a construction, the way I would kind of poise that, the type of customers to look out for, the type of objections they throw up or that they run into when you let them go just figure it out on their own, or if they get too far ahead of you, how to control that deal with the realtors. I mean, with the builders. So that's mainly what I'm going to talk about. We can talk about whatever though, tonight, and do some damage to my First United credit card. So.
Oh, yeah.
okay, so everybody has it that wanted it. If you're watching this video, tonight, tomorrow, whatever, and you want it, just reach out to me, text or email, and I'll send you the flyer. Thanks to Sean Russell, as always, for being here for us. We'll see you in 2 weeks as we kick off 100 Days to Greatness. Sean will be our sponsor. For
And you guys missed out on the taco pizza.
It was good. And Maria, where was it from? Whatever she said. Bye, all.
Reference her.
So,